What the heck?
Oh, I'm sorry. I can pay for the damage. Do you happen to take Pifflandian coins?
Maybe. I don't know if the hardware store will. Who and what are you?
Oh, simple. I'm a human. With a magic hoodie, of course. Don't ask his name. I don't know it myself.
I'm going to pretend that everything you just said made perfect sense. Why are you here?
Well, I was on my way to go find Doc Block for the 5th time, but I saw that star and it looked shiny, so I kind of had to follow. I ended up grabbing onto it and flying here. Honestly, it looked like that warp star from Kirby. You familiar?
Very much so, but I didn't think they actually existed.
Well, they don't in my universe either. I don't know why I sent here of all places. The map said I was traveling towards the Great Desert, not the normal house.
We're getting off track. You mentioned something about Kirby?
Oh yeah, the warp star! So much for that. Guess I'll go back to playing Forgotten Land.
Oh, you play Forgotten Land too? What a coincidence, because I happen to be making a video about that. If you want, you can join me while you're stuck here.
Sure, but I do have a van, you know. I could leave it anytime. But if it has to do with Kirby, I'm down.
Perfect. Let me show you my studio. Dang, not even a minute in and we already got a win. These CGI cutscenes are incredible, especially for the Switch. Almost like we're playing a PS4 or PS5 game.
The beginning also sets the perfect mood for the game. It's not exactly random and sets the perfect tone. It even showcases how Kirby got mouthful mode in a way that other Kirby games don't do with their exclusive gimmicks.
For a series that has been in 2D for so long, you'd naturally be a bit worried how the character will control in a 3D space. Well, I'm happy to say that Kirby controls quite nicely. No jank, and every bit of movement is in your control.
The reveal of the new world is perfect. The music swelling as we emerge from the dark forest is simply immaculate. I can't even explain a game that has made me feel this great from entering its world besides Super Mario Galaxy, and that game is one of my all-time favorites. This game takes the cake on emotion, and we're barely even into the first level.
While obviously not the most gorgeous game ever, Forgotten Land is one of the Switch's best looking games, hands down. It manages to blend Kirby's cartoonish nature and the realistic setting beautifully. However, the performance does leave a bit to be desired. The game runs at 30 FPS, and by itself that's not a bad thing as long as it's consistent. The problem comes from two things. One, the draw distance is pretty lacking, as you can see enemies moving at a choppy frame rate at like 10 feet away. And even though that may seem like a small thing, it is noticeable. Two, it pulls a Kirby Star allies and has most of the game run at 30, while the UI elements and even the stage transitions run at 60, which is pretty jarring and confusing. I understand that a game like this would push the underpowered Switch pretty far, but considering where we are in gaming, we have reason to expect more.
The copy abilities have transitioned perfectly to 3D. Almost everything you experience from them in 2D is brought to 3D with full, fluid control. We'll go into each of them as we see them, starting with Sword. Sword has always been the go-to ability, and in this game, it's no different. Sure, the moveset's now more limited, but it makes up for that in sheer flexibility. More on that later, though.
Bomb has always been a weird one for me since I prefer the melee copy abilities, but it still has its uses in causing mayhem. Don't use it very often, but when I do, it's pretty fun to blow everything up. Every Kirby game has a new ability separate from copy abilities to make it stand out, and in Forgotten Land's case, we have mouthful mode. Not only is it goofy as heck, but it also has a wide amount of uses, which, like the copy abilities, we'll go over them as we see them, starting with Kirby. Yes, I'm aware of the official name, I just like puns. Kirby is honestly my favorite mouthful mode transformation. It's fast and fluid and a ton of fun to wreck stuff. There's a reason this one was used to first introduce the mechanic.
When I first played the full game and this happened, I was in complete awe. When we had our hands on the demo, nothing like this was shown, but hearing this theme was a welcome surprise. It drives the feeling of this new world right into my heart, pun intended. And bonus points for Kirby in this. Kirby dancing to it and waiting for the ducks to cross. By the way, the ducks themselves are a win as well. Just melts my heart. Add 5 wins.
As per usual with 3D platformers, there are things to collect, and this time, it's waddle-dees. With how adorable and friendly these guys are, you actually feel bad for them getting captured and want to rescue them, which means Kirby does a better job at being a collectathon than Mario. Weird, huh? Elfilin. I remember leading up to the game's release that people were speculating that Elfilin would be another Magolor and that they betray you at the end. Well, there is a twist surrounding them, but they're your friend throughout the entire game, which is a refreshing change of pace. They even join in with Kirby's victory dance, and you have to admit that's cute.
The Kirby dance is always a win, and if you disagree, I question your humanity. Sorry. Plus, the more natural sounding music to it compared to the typical cartoon sounding music further showcases the feeling that Kirby is very much far from home. So, in this game, instead of pulling a Return to Dreamland and making multiple Kirbys, the second player is instead Bandana Waddle Dee. How does he work, you ask? Well, he's essentially the spear ability in 3D. While it may sound simple in concept, being very versatile and staying as strong as Kirby in his adventure adds on to the sheer fun of his moveset. While there isn't any way for Kirby to experience this moveset, that isn't enough to sway him away from being a win.
Cutter has always been a useful one for me, and it's no different here. It's got ample range with sufficient damage, especially when you charge it up, and it can shred enemies' health with the 3-swing combo.
Who would have thought a vending machine would be this great of a mouthful mode? Its power is great, and if you're in a pinch, you can heal while regaining your shots. It's honestly up there with my favorites.
Columby is kinda underwhelming, honestly. It's only really used outside of breaking stuff, which every other mouthful mode does, is cracking specific pipes and breaking the building shells on these turtles. The latter may sound cool, and it kinda is when done from a high place, but aside from very specific instances, Columby's just kinda there. Not terrible, but definitely the weakest mouthful mode in my opinion.
The mini-bosses also make their jump to 3D, and they're just fine. They feel way too easy for their own right. However, they do keep their respective attacks from previous entries, and they do have great redesigns, even giving an ability its first mini-boss in Florina. I have no idea, honestly. What do you think, Tony?
This one's 50-50. Not bad, but not good either. No sin or win, just a mention.
Fair.
In addition to the copy abilities tweaks in 3D, Kirby can now dodge enemy attacks. Okay, technically you could dodge in prior games, but that was more of a small shuffle. This is a full-on dodge that can slow down time when performed at the last minute. Kirby's Bayonetta now, and I love it.
Don't be. I mean, it's a mouthful. It's cute. Nothing else, because it's only used for so much. I guess we got a back-to-back stalemate. I wasn't expecting that, but okay.
I'm not really sure what to say about fire. I mean, it's fire. It burns things. It has a couple uses. Yeah, this one's definitely lacking. It's not horrible, but it's one of the last copy abilities I use unless needed for a secret.
Stairbeat. Honestly, I love it. Gives that feeling of a power rush and a puzzle factor that I never knew I wanted in a mouthful mode. Except for its special puzzle, but we'll talk about that later. Ranger Kirby, aka Kirby with a gun. Kirby's always had one in memes, but an official Kirby game? Being one of the new copy abilities, it's built with 3D in mind, and it shows. An aiming system with an auto lock feature, 3 different charges, and a dodge attack lead this copy ability to be one of the best in my opinion. You mind if we had 2 wins here?
Not at all. In the 2D games, Needle was another one that was just there, but Forgotten Land actually makes it fun. While it retains its usual traits, you can now use it to roll around and play Katamari with enemies. That's pretty fun, if a little jank sometimes. The mall is my favorite level in World 1. In fact, abandoned malls in general have a weird way of drawing me in. Just the idea of a once bustling place now being desolate and overgrown is kinda enthralling, and Kirby's take is no different.
Plus, The maze aspect further solidifies its abandoned nature. Ice is honestly the edge that fire would need to be a win. Not only does it freeze enemies, it can even freeze bosses completely and do massive damage when enough pressure is put on them. You can even use it to skate on water and lava. It's also the only base ability that has a guard, but we'll cover that at a later time. For now though, ice is definitely superior over fire.
Much like Domeby, Lockerbie just kinda exists for the most part, but this moment where he yanks down the whole wall is hilarious. Can't pass up a win on this.
For the treasure roads, we'll only talk about the ones that we really like or dislike, but I have to mention the first two worlds' treasure road music, because it just gives off the feeling of time limit and intensity.
Speaking of ones we really like, Bomb's Treasure Road gets a win because it's bowling, and we like bowling.
So does Ice's, because we get to slide down slopes with it while plowing through enemies. Need I say more?
While not as engaging as later bosses, Goramondo is a perfectly serviceable first boss. He gets across what you need to know well, and he has a killer entrance. Might not be anything special, but he doesn't need to be.
Forgotten Land doesn't have as many copy abilities as prior games, but it makes up for it with the upgrade system. From the get-go, you get 2 upgrades. One for Cutter, and one for Fire. Now, Chakram Cutter is actually the main reason I started to use Cutter, as unlike Tony Sonic here, I never used it as much. Chakram gives Cutter an extra projectile and benefits way more from spamming than the original did, while still keeping the quality of the original. Honestly, a solid upgrade through and through.
Volcano Fire, meanwhile, is fire given new purpose. While still not that useful in the long run, the added volcanic effects make using it way more fun. Definitely prefer this over basic bitch fire.
Waddle Dee Town. Still striving to grow right now, but it's making a step in the right direction. All of your needs are confined right here. They even expanded the basic menu to watch the cutscenes. Now it's a full-on theater. We'll look back on the town later, but honestly a great improvement already.
Even though we already mentioned the great graphics, that water looks nice. It's a lot easier to mess up water than you might think, but this game avoids that and gives us nice, clean, beautiful water.
Sleep was always either cute or an obstacle. In this game though, Kirby actually gets some health back. It's icing on the cake to a little cute ability.
Hammer was always my second favorite copy ability, and it's no different here. It packs a punch and is especially useful for dealing with mini bosses and large enemies. And that sound when it hits the ground, perfect.
Pay him no heed. He is cute, but he is.
Little detail for hardcore Kirby fans, this theme for the timed Waddle Dee is the theme for the Beam Mage stopping time in Super Kirby Clash. Now that's what we call Easter eggs.
Ringby, aside from looking derpy as heck, he's a good use for Malfo mode. His main ability is breathing puffs of air that can destroy objects, spin fans, and even sail a ship. Who needs sails when you have this giant mouth?
Crash comes back for the definitive one-time use ability in this game, and for 3D, they kept it mostly the same. It's still a nuke, but now it has a bit of mobility before exploding. At the very least, it's less situational, but there is a reason it feels so good to blow up everything in sight with the tap of a button.
Drill is the other new ability in this game alongside Ranger, and it's a neat addition. It's more useful for mobility rather than attack, but it can be fun to circle around enemies to kill them. Totally not reminding me of a different game at all.
Lift B seems like it'd be kinda low with most of the others, like Domeby or Lockerbie, but I would say it's actually used way better. Turns a boring walk straight and win passageway into something kind of engaging. It's just something about destroying everything by simply moving the lift that's kind of funny to me.
Type B is another one of my favorite Malfo modes. It is rather scripted a lot of the time, but it's just fun to roll down hills and cause chaos and destruction. What more do you need?
Not my main for attacking, but my main for mobility. While Tornado in 2D was very limited on your control, but strong, Tornado in 3D is great for moving around stages with speed and control. It can even pick up nearby objects and enemies and throw them right back at you with a seamless feel. Bonus points for it finally getting a mini-boss in this game.
Archbee, aka our long-awaited sequel to Pilot Wings. Its usage is short and linear, but that doesn't keep it from being fun to glide through canyons and avoid obstacles. Maybe this will give Nintendo the incentive to make another Pilot Wings game.
This treasure road is just invincible rampage. In other words, chaos. And we love chaos.
Remember how we said that we liked Stairby? Well, its treasure road is the one exception. It's really slow and awkward to maneuver around. To everyone who ended up failing this challenge any number of times, I don't blame you at all.
Ah, the wispy woods of this game. And he's done really well. First off, Tropic Woods has a great design. A lot wider than most woods, sure, but that just makes him fit more in 3D. Not only that, but he can still give you a run for your money if you aren't on your toes the entire boss. He doesn't just sit there and take it either. He'll guard, and it does damage, so don't get too close. In conclusion, probably the best way to add in the tree in 3D.
Chain Bomb adds the ability to create multiple explosions at once, and while I do find it a little tricky to precisely line up shots, that is kind of the point. Plus, when you do line them up, the bang is super satisfying.
You want to call back to Kirby 64? Well, Clutter Needle has got you covered. With this, you get more time to stay as a needle, and projectiles will shoot out when you start and stop without having to Katamari enemies. Overall, it makes Needle more fun than its base form by a mile.
Noble Ranger. What's better than Kirby with a gun? Kirby with 2 guns and a snazzy hat. Need I say more?
When Waddle Dee Town expands, we get 3 minigames around to play, and the one we get first is the Waddle Dee Cafe. Not only is it a place to get healing items in reserve or see Kirby and his friends eat a quick meal, but they just happen to need some more employees on the job. That's where you come in. The minigame itself is really cute, and also has a surprising amount of stress for the lunch rush in a Kirby game. It's probably the one I played the most out of them all, but we'll get back to the others later.
You can interact with the cutout for a photo. Cute Kirby moments always deserve a win.
You remember how we gave the ducks a win earlier? Well, now you get an objective to bring the ducklings back to their mother. Adorable. I love how casual the enemies are in this world. Some even wait in line for their turn. That's a really cute touch, Hal.
Coaster Bee. Basically a more engaging q3u. It's fast-paced and just plain fun. Everything you'd expect from a roller coaster.
Balloon Bee doubles being adorable and packing a punch. What's not to love? Its only real drawback would be that it does run out, but that's not going to happen as long as you don't constantly spray water.
Circuit Speedway has the best usage of Kirby in the entire game. Speeding down racetracks at varying difficulties for the best time is exhilarating. Yet another reason why Kirby is the best Malfo mode.
The invasion of the House of Horrors feels like a retro-style haunted house, or something you'd see in the 80s. It's got vibrant color, the cheesy but goofy looking monsters that pop out, the fake mirrors. All this comes together to make it my personal favorite level.
Bullbee's more of a gimmick than a means of attack, but it still has its uses through solar panels and lighting up dark rooms. Plus, it's one of the select few Malfo modes that doesn't make Kirby slow as molasses. Looking at you, Stairby. The colors, Nick! The colors!
While it doesn't change much, Floor Tornado does give Tornado some quality of life changes, with extra damage, feather around for more of a blast when you stop spinning, and elegance. Hey, can you, do this one? I'm starting to get flashbacks.
Okay. You'd think a toy hammer wouldn't do nearly as much damage as a normal mallet, but believe it or not, it actually gives you a second hitbox. It may be slower, but it packs a wallop, especially when fully upgraded. Time Crash is a bit like Crash, but it slows down time as well as blows things up. I know we made the Bayonetta comparison earlier, but I think that was a little too accurate now that we have this.
Gigant Sword is more of a D grade than an upgrade. The damage input is way too slow to justify the damage that it puts out. Not only would you be better off with its upgrades, but I would go as far to say that you would do better with base sword. Sure, it gets a guard, and not many abilities do, but it just does not justify its sluggish nature at all.
I know we mentioned Katamari like twice already, but Needle's Treasure Road in Wanderia continues to justify that. I mean, look at it. It's Katamari down a hill.
This treasure road expands on a hidden Waddle Dee in the House of Horrors, and now makes it a whole level. Feels so satisfying to actually hit all the switches and get to the target time. One win, please.
Pipe B's also got a treasure road, and it further showcases its charm. Failing the last jump can be a pain when you're going for the target time, but that doesn't stop the rest of it from being fast, chaotic, and fun as always.
It's probably best that you do this one. I need to get him to calm down.
Alright, Clawlorine continues to elevate the boss quality, and it's not for the reasons you think. She's quick like a cat, got quite the scratch, and the stage battlefield makes it feel like you're part of a performance. Also, fun fact, if you inhale the needles Clawlorine throws at you, you can get the sword ability. Need to know if you're in a pinch.
Honestly, I love how the arena was done in this game. It's got a boatload of personality from the outside and the inside. Even has a commentator Waddle Dee talking about the fight from start to end. Brings that feeling of an arena more than other Kirby games ever have.
Meta Knight was done so much justice in this game. This is easily his best fight in the history of Kirby. Compared to the game's previous fights, this one feels like you need to be on your toes the entire time. And weirdly enough, this fight isn't about Meta Knight trying to kill you due to mind control like so many other Kirby games. Instead, he's testing you to make sure you have what it takes to rescue the remaining Waddle Dees. And a task like that requires your all. Also, there's a fun little Easter egg in this fight. If you get into the clash with Meta Knight and knock away his sword, not only can you grab the sword and get the Meta Knight sword upgrade, but Meta Knight will also pull out his sword for Kirby's adventure. That is some hardcore fan service right there. Side note, do not use Gigan's sword for this fight. Both of us did, and that clunky sword made everything needlessly frustrating. And of course, we have to mention his incredible new boss theme. It's simply perfection for a character as stoic and stalwart as the lone swordsman himself.
Pencil Drill is an upgrade. It gives you a better air attack. You have a pencil. It's cute. And it's a stalemate.
Meta Knight's sword is the best sword. Until later, but we'll get there. With it, you get most of Meta Knight's abilities, including his beam slashes when at full health, and his air attacks. It's also got a healthy amount of damage and speed to it, fitting for Meta Knight. Winter Horns is my favorite world in the game. The frozen ruin aesthetic is just so pleasing, and the music accompanying it is simply beautiful. Even the ice physics, which everyone hates, aren't enough to be a detriment.
Bonus's cute penguin boy for existing makes this my second favorite world. Wanderia is my personal favorite if you're wondering. So, you know how we won the mall? Metro on Ice gives that feel, but it's driven a little more from the fact that the ice takes over more than the overgrowth does. Though, somehow, it still seems peaceful. One win, please.
Gotta say, the bridge is a cool set piece, pun not intended. Its sheer size coupled with the surrounding fog creates an aura of dread as to what's gonna happen. Granted, all that does happen is an enemy rush, but you gotta commend them on the great atmosphere. Plus, if you scale the side of the bridge, you could do a harder version of all the enemy rushes and mini-bosses. Hitting stuff like that is always a win.
Side note, the Waddle Dee where you have to not get hit by both Frosty, pain. I pray for you if you do it in hard mode. Seems easy, but oh god, is it not.
Ice's Winter Horns treasure road is pure speed. It's pretty much an evolution of what we got before in Ice's previous treasure road. And when you get a good flow going all the way to the end, it feels good.
Not only is Time Crash's treasure road fun as heck, the little detail of time stopping is really nice.
The entrance to King DDD's fight is chilling. The enormous frozen castle in the distance, shrouded with fog, coupled with the music, creates the perfect suspense.
This is, without a doubt, the best DDD fight ever. This Tata Chip loving penguin has all of his classic moves in tow, coupled with some new adjustments. Dude even grabs a pillar in this fight when you throw away his hammer. That's devotion. Also, the music. Best DDD theme ever. Wins.
The fact that DDD decides to get up and sneak up behind Kirby during the victory screen is pure genius. It immediately makes you think, oh no, who's he gonna trap?
Side note, Kirby rarely feels any strong emotion, so seeing how sad he feels in the fact that Effelin is now gone, as in, you cannot see them in any other way until brought back, makes you feel how much of an impact this has on the game itself.
The fishing minigame is peak Kirby cuteness. Not only does he get a little fishing app, but you can catch these gigantic fishes that Kirby is apparently strong enough to lift on his own. Then again, he's also strong enough to crack a planet in half. Oh, and also, if you have Elfilin with you during the minigame, they'll try to help Kirby out by yanking on the fishing rod. That's precious. Dragon Fire. If Volcano Fire was fire made anew, Dragon Fire is Ascended Fire. You got a much longer range, and you have dragon wings when dashing. I can't tell you how much fun it is to just fly around Waluigi Town with that ability. And of course, he's got a badass hat.
Homing Bomb is a great upgrade. In concept. The homing part is great, but the actual chain part falls apart when the bombs run too far away to chain. At most, you get a chain of 3 bombs. Comparing that to chain bombs, you can chain up to 5 at a time to do much more damage. It really only does its job right in homing. That's it.
Frosty Ice. In addition to an adorable snow hat, Frosty Ice allows you to make snowmen that you can kick at enemies. You'd think it'd be hard to shoot ice projectiles, but nope, you just breathe ice for 2 seconds and kick away. Really cool. Pun intended that time.
Tilt and Roll Kirby, inspired by Tilt and Tumble Kirby, is a really fun way to spend your time outside of the story mode. Hard mode is rage-inducing, and you might go broke, but that's what adds into the fun. At least that's what I'm telling myself. On a real note though, a really fun time all around.
The Wastes Where Life Began. An intimidating title for sure, and the level itself backs it up with its incredible atmosphere. You feel like you're in the middle of a sandstorm, and the music further accentuates that feeling. Shame it doesn't last the entire level, but what we have is more than great.
By the way, you can go into the building back there to do a quick side room if you want a reward. Even the enemies treat it like a hotel.
You get a hidden Waddle Dee by sleeping by the pool. That's adorable. Wild Hammer. While an argument can be made for Toy Hammer being better, I still think Wild Hammer is a good ability. It's definitely slower, but the sheer power it packs almost makes it worth it. I guarantee you, when you manage to fully charge up a swing and land it on a boss, it feels satisfying and destroys their health. Also, Kirby looks like bonkers now. Cute things trying to look serious is even cuter.
Little detail about Piffle. I'm Piffle Neo, by the way. is that he uses projectiles to bounce off the walls to defeat enemies. Give me a Kirby ability that has rapid fire, has buzz saws, and bounces the same. Now I feel like my true counterpart. Lore dump aside, this ability has some devastating strength when charged up, especially if you happen to know that you can jump over the charge shot to devastate bosses and mini-bosses with ease.
Twin Drill, aka the upgrade drill needed in the first place. It does more damage and just generally works better than Pencil Drill. Plus, while Pencil Drill looks cute, Twin Drill's got some edge.
Crystal Needle is a more precise cluster needle with not only more added time, but also a crystal trail following you as you roll around. I'm honestly really glad that this ability has stayed consistently good because it's been a lot of fun using it.
I know we expressed our displeasure towards Gigant's sword earlier, but its Treasure Road in Original Wasteland completely proves its inferiority to even basic sword. You're forced to use it in an enemy rush ending with 2 wild edges, and fighting him off is so clunky due to how slow the sword swings are. You may get some decent range, but that's not enough to make it worthwhile. Heck, you can't even spin slash with it, which would have been very useful in this Treasure Road.
Ranger in Original Wastelands makes you circle a tower and shoot buttons to bring it down. Makes Kirby feel like he's an expert marksman.
Toy Hammer's Treasure Road is a climb up a spire as you hit every spike along the way, and it perfectly showcases its bouncy feel. Once you get the rhythm going, it feels satisfying.
P.S. Hammer glitching here is fun. Oh, by the way, Silly Dill is a stalemate. He isn't easy, but isn't hard either.
Blizzard Ice. Kirby may lose the Snow Hat, but he gains more power and a much better guard. It's especially noticeable against mini-bosses. Freezing them with Blizzard Ice does an immense amount of damage, believe you me.
It's Kirby Hole in the Wall! Are we desperate to win something in this world? Kinda, but this is still cute. The final level before the king feels anticlimactic. It falls short of making you feel like you've reached the final battle in any way besides the beginning, and even using the mouthful modes feels okay at best. And that sucks because of how good it should feel.
Space Ranger, a perfect capper for Ranger. You can shoot small lasers, charge up a big laser for a black hole, and even perform unique jump and dash attacks. Plus, Kirby has a space helmet. What's not to love?
Storm Tornado gives you a forecast within a 100% chance of thunder. Bonus if you get the reference. Leaving behind storm clouds, having a bigger radius, and being taller to represent a hurricane make this the ultimate tornado upgrade.
Deep Sleep. Kirby gets a portable bed and some extra buffs to go along with the health replenish. The chances for the extra health bar may be lower, but it's still a worthy upgrade to sleep. Plus, how can you resist Kirby when he's sleeping? You have to be soulless to say that's not Q.
This normal Treasure Road is just blowout blast, and I love it.
The Master of Mouthful Treasure Road is agonizingly meh. It starts out with Combi, which is already a bad sign, and it's the second longest section of the Treasure Road. They seriously dedicated that much time to the weakest Mouthful mode. Vending Machine is just kinda there for literal seconds. Ringby uses the boat after it was used 3 times before in the same world. Balloon Bee and Lifty are completely pointless since their sections are over in seconds, and Starebee, Boldbee, Pipebee, and Archbee aren't here at all, which might be a good thing in Starebee's case considering how bad his Treasure Road is. Kirby naturally steals the show, but when you put the most time into the best and worst Mouthful modes while giving barely any time to the others in what is supposed to be a Treasure Road focused on all of them, it leaves a very sour taste in our mouths. Pun half intended.
The king is back again, and this time, willingly puts on the mask. His first phase is nothing special, albeit some revamped attacks, but this dude has 2 health bars. When the first is dropped, DDD starts to run on all 4s, turning this fight from DDD to the 1,000,001 time that he's been mind controlled. Probably more at this point, honestly. Don't get greedy with powerful hits and you should be fine.
For once, DDD stands up for his subjects. It's not a means to an end, it's genuine care for his people. That's a true king.
Welcome visitors to the Dream Discoveries tour of our science facility, Lab Discovera.
To all the people who say Kirby isn't scary in the slightest, show them this. This is the first time voice acting is used in a mainline game, and while it's happy in tone, if you listen to the words, it's horrifying. It does complement the build-up, even showing that the Waddle Dees were used for labor as you send upwards. It's not the main reason this game has a fear rating, but that will be talked about soon enough.
Leongar, the fearsome leader of the Beast Pack. While not the best fight in the game, he's more than capable of pulling his own weight. He's fast, ferocious, and the powers granted to him by IDF86 further prove why he's their leader. He may be possessed, but that doesn't make him any less of a threat.
You remember how I said there was a reason this game has a fear rating? That thing is the main reason. Fecto Forgo's boss isn't that special, but the sole fact that it's a blob of itself and other life that you've seen thriving in this game just goes to show that this thing will go to any length to consume you and Effelin. Yes, I said consume.
Sure enough, Fecto Forgo does consume Elfilin and is able to achieve its true form, Fecto Elfilis. Kirby games are notorious for their excellent final bosses, and Fecto Elfilis is no exception. The first way is that it's swiping you with its spear, throwing magic spears at you, performing charge stabs on the ground and in the air, and spear attacks through portals. In Phase 2, it shows off its true power by transforming the sky into a wavy liquid, chucking meteors at you, and even healing itself. And at the end, Dombi gets its best use by freeing Elfilin from Fecto Elfilis. It's not quite up there as one of the best final bosses, but Fecto Elfilis performs its duty as a great final boss.
Now the two worlds of Popstar and the Forgotten Land are starting to combine. How does Kirby deal with this, you may ask? Simple, he just becomes Rigby, not that one, and plows through everything with a rendition of the Invincible Candy theme playing as you approach Fecto Elfilis. As the soundtrack says, this is truly a full-speed farewell.
Even though Elfilin doesn't die here, the music and expressions on the characters' faces sell this moment so hard. And again, Kirby rarely expresses this much emotion, so seeing him be sad over losing Elfilin and then be overjoyed at Elfilin being alive is just so sweet.
Masked Hammer is what I personally needed from Wild Hammer, mobility. Not saying Wild Hammer is bad, by the way. Masked Hammer can really pack on the damage from one charge. If it weren't for one final upgrade that we talked about soon, this would be the best ability of them all.
Isolated Isles is this game's equivalent to the typical Kirby Extra mode, and much like previous games, it's remixed levels from the normal game. Not much to really say about any of them that we haven't said before, but I will say that the creepy aesthetic and music do make it feel very different. Win for an unsettling atmosphere.
Instead of Waddle Dees, this mode makes you collect pieces of Leongar's soul. Even the game itself says, wait, this is Leongar's soul? Really adds to the atmosphere. Also, you know how annoying it is to miss one or two Waddle Dees, but you just can't find them for the life of you? Well, in this mode, Effelin will actually let you know if you collected every single piece of Leongar's soul by the end of every section. Huge stress reliever that I'm grateful for.
Now, since the Phantom bosses are just the normal bosses, but with a few extra tricks, we're just gonna do a lightning round of all of them. Phantom Goromando is a more dangerous spin attack and does his grab mid-fight. Phantom Tropicwoods makes a maze out of his usual guard and does a spread shot with his puff attack. Phantom Clawline makes duplicates of herself. Phantom Silly-Dillo adds a Sandstorm, which doesn't change that much. Phantom DDD adds in Spike Gordos and extra Wolfies at the start, as well as freezes parts of the arena during his ice attack. And Phantom Forgo DDD adds in Meteors and shakes the whole arena to where parts of it dip into the lava. Simple additions that add a new spin to each boss. Nothing more, nothing less.
When you get enough soul fragments to free him, Leongar does a happy dance. It takes a second to start, and he gets possessed afterwards, but he does pull it off.
Speaking of the possession, Forgo Leon is up next, and at first, he's mostly the same as his normal fight, maybe a little more aggressive. However, the second phase pulls no punches, with Facto Forgo using all of its power and all of Leon's might to kill Kirby. More fast attacks, more destructive attacks, anything it takes to put the pink puff down for good. It may not work, but you gotta commend the spirit.
Okay, time to fight the true final boss, Soul 4 Morpho Knight. Yeah, he merges with Soul Forgo and goes into combat with you. He isn't that difficult, if anything his style is kinda similar to Meta Knight, but he does have his own tricks. He'll invert your screen and make his sword humongous and slam it down to the ground for massive damage. Dodging is almost crucial, but be patient and you should be able to take him down.
Yay! Happy ending for all! Special mention to Clawline. Her joy at seeing Leon okay is precious. Meanwhile, Kirby and Elflin are just happy in general, with no concept of love.
Morpho Knight Sword, aka the best ability in the game. Not only does it have the biggest moveset, not only did it give the option to charge and do a spin attack, looking at you, Gigant Sword. Not only do you get a ranged attack, but you get health back from the damage you deal! I don't think I need to say much more besides that this ability is the best ability in the game by far.
So before we wrap up the game with the true final boss and the Ultimate Z Cup, I want to go over the worst part of completing Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Now, for the most part, completing Forgotten Land is pretty simple. The Waddle-Dees are all easy enough to nab, and while there are some hidden ones, completing all the treasure roads is simple enough too. Getting all the Gacha figurines, however, that is the hard part. You want to know how many of these things you need to collect for 100%? 256! I'm not joking. There are 256 of these things across 4 separate volumes. How do you get these figurines, you may ask? Well, during your normal and extra mode playthroughs, you will be able to find them throughout the levels, and there are special figurines that can only be obtained by doing specific things around Waddle-Dee Town. Those aren't too bad, but the primary place where you'll be getting them is the gacha machine to the alleyway, and... So, wrap your head around this one. There are 4 machines in this alley, one for each volume, and each one costs a certain amount of star coins to get a chance at getting a figurine you don't have. Volume 1 costs 10 coins, Volume 2 costs 20 coins, Volume 3 costs 50 coins, and Volume 4 costs 100 coins. That in and of itself isn't the problem. The problem is the fact that, much like a gacha machine, the figurines you get are all random, meaning the chances of getting one you don't have get increasingly slimmer for every figure you collect. I can't tell you how much time I spent at each one of these machines throwing away all my hard-earned coins and ending up with duplicates rather than ones I don't have. And speaking of which, if you do run out of coins, that means spending more time either running through the stages again collecting more cash or spending long periods of time playing the various minigames to rake in the dough. They did attempt to band-aid this process by giving you a Waddle-Dee that will give you a figure you don't have in exchange for a rare stone, but that's hardly a fix since the only way you could get rare stones after completing all the treasure roads is to spend hours grinding the ultimate or ultimate Z cuts, which nets you 1 to 3 of them for winning. and only 1 to 3. In fact, most guides on getting all the gacha figurines will tell you to avoid using it because rare stones are better spent on upgrades to the copy abilities, and because of how hard it is to even get rare stones. Thanks, game, for giving me a solution to a problem that's not even a good solution to begin with. That's just perfect.
Oh yeah, by the way, you want to know your standalone reward for finishing that tedious quest? Music on the collection screen! Somewhere that, after you get them all, you'd probably not want to revisit ever again!
True to most Kirby games, they hide their real true final bosses in the true arena, or the Ultimate Z Cup in this game's case, and Chaos Elfless fits the bill in that regard. Similarly to other games, Chaos Elfless is mostly the same as Fecto Elfless, just with some extra tricks, like more clones during healing, magic spears that go in different directions, and a gigantic avatar that swings its spear at you. However, the second phase after beating it takes the fight to a whole new level. While the black hole attack is kinda bullshit since it pulls that attack right away, which can easily demolish you if your health was low, most of Chaos Elfless' other attacks are cool. It can smash apart a giant meteor to make it rain smaller meteors, bounce around and make shockwaves, and fire lasers and boomerang projectiles. Plus the fact that it repeats that "and here we are" from the elevator scene for the first half makes it even more menacing. Thank goodness we get to end this video on a high note because I was starting to get worried there. All in all, Kirby and the Forgotten Land is a really great game. Kirby has always been that series that rarely does any wrong, and for the very first 3D Kirby game, so much else could have gone wrong. Yet none of it did. It's everything we love about Kirby, but in 3D. And that's all it needs to be. There's a reason the sin counter has barely moved throughout this video. Kirby games rarely have anything wrong with them, and that remains the case here. Sure, there were a few things here and there, but Forgotten Land is largely a really great game and my personal favorite Kirby game. In fact, a 3D Kirby game has been my dream Kirby game for so long, and now I have one that's amazing in almost every way. How about you, Piffoneo?
Honestly, this game has been a blast. I've wanted Kirby in 3D for the longest time, and they delivered with much more than I was expecting. I really hope that Kirby can go in this direction for a while, and if not, maybe keep the evolution of copy abilities in tow for more games to come. Excuse me for a moment. Hello?
Piffle, where are you? You're supposed to be at the rendezvous point like an hour ago.
Yeah, I know, but I got offered to talk about Kirby for a while. Who could turn that down?
Me, Natsu, get down here before you miss out on destroying the dom.
Okay! Jeez. Well, looks like I've got to bounce. But don't worry, I'll be back soon!
Bye, Piffle. Well, he was fun to work with. Anyways, the next video on the docket is a bit unknown right now. It'll largely depend on when I can get this video done, but I will say that my 2-year anniversary of my first upload is coming up soon. I do have something special planned for that, and maybe a filler video in between. What'll they be? You'll have to wait and see. Until next time, everybody.